Alright my friends, welcome back to FrogboyX1 Gaming. I'm Andrew and today is kind of a video that I've been thinking about for a while. So yes, I do have some of it scripted. I'm gonna read that out to you. I'll have some gameplay going so you guys don't have to watch me sit here and read the freaking my screen. So I did type this out myself. I didn't do any kind of like AI generated garbage or anything like that. This is something that I've really been paying attention to. So I'm going to go ahead and read this to you, and then I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on top of that. For a while, while we have been distracted with the differences between DLSS and FSR with trivial things like shimmering ghosting and 500% zoom clarity, we haven't noticed that PC benchmarking as we know it is about to change. The current model has become outdated and doesn't include software advancements to performance through the use of frame generation, AI upscaling, new buzzwords like neural rendering and multi-frame generation. You can already see influencers sowing the seeds of this new way of looking at things. Seeing as traditional hardware, performance gains are becoming less impressive with new demanding features such as hardware ray tracing, path tracing, direct storage APIs, and more. Digital Foundry has been talking about finding ways to, or asking should they switch to different methods to show performance for games using what they perceive as how the average gamer is going to probably use DLSS or FSR to play their games. As graphics and performance experts, they hold a lot of sway with the casual gaming segment, therefore allowing them to shift to a new performance metric that will enable features like DLSS or FSR, XeSS, frame generation, multi-frame generation, and more to gauge the performance of hardware going forward. So that's what I had written down. And so I wanted to try to get that part out without, kind of stumbling too much with that and try to keep that pretty concise. So here's the thing, guys, and this is the way I've been thinking about it. I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. Is I've kind of noticed like this shift in just like everything ever since I started getting into PC gaming. So DLSS came out in the 20 series. 30 series is when I came into PC gaming. So pretty much we had that generation, and then obviously the 40 series, we got 50 series coming up. I'd switched over to AMD a little bit through that, and I've noticed that there has been such an emphasis on trying to convince people that DLSS is better than native, or some of these technologies are just superior, and they do, like, there's been like a really big focus on this, and I'm not against it. Like, I'm really not against it at all, because I do utilize these features more recently. Like I said earlier, PlayStation 5 Pro has kind of broken down my walls a little bit when it comes to like upscaling and stuff like that. Previously, it wasn't really a feature that I was utilizing or really going out of my way to use. I'd obviously, bought a 7900 XTX, and I paired that with a 3440 by 1440p monitor so that I wouldn't really have to rely on upscaling at all. And getting the PlayStation 5 Pro had kind of brought me back into the like, okay, this is a console, And it's a pretty distinct thing, and probably this weekend I'm going to be doing some really cool like PC versus PS5 videos running on a 1440p monitor for you guys, so that you guys can kind of see, just the difference about how it looks on 1440p versus how it looks on a 4K or on the PC on a 1440p monitor. And I was looking at this kind of stuff, and PlayStation 5 Pro really has like showing me that like, okay, upscaling can work. And it can give you a good enough distraction to be able to get into a game and start enjoying it. Because I've bought a bunch of games on PS5 Pro. I'm sitting there, I'm playing them, and I'm like, wow, this is actually quite comfortable. It feels good. I'm enjoying this. I'm sitting here, I'm playing it, and I'm having a good time. Like, I am actually just playing the game and experiencing that. And as each image crosses my screen and I see that with my own two eyes, I decide right then and there, does this look good to me? And more often than not, I'm like, wow, this is actually really good image quality. I'm very pleased with this. I can play this and it is 100% playable. That's not super distracting. So that's what kind of led me down this rabbit hole to like really start paying attention and listening to this stuff. And so when I listen, you know, I don't watch Digital Foundry often enough anymore to let them really affect me in any way, shape, or form. But I have noticed, you know, when I've been trying to like research a video topic or something, and then, you know, like when I listen to Richard Ledbetter, this is what like kicked this off, because I was thinking back today and I was like, dude, he was reviewing the 4070 Super. And he was talking about how this GPU is essentially a 4K card, you know, comparing it to like PlayStation 5 and saying, oh yeah, you're going to get a better 4K experience out of this. And that is extremely confusing to the average casual gamer that's going to be like, yeah, man, I can get a 4070 and play on 4K. And just, you know, because I mean, I've played a lot of stuff, and he's right. I mean, he is right for the most part. If you hook a 4070 Super up to a 4K TV and you're willing to lower some settings, or you're willing to have an aggressive form of DLSS, or some other combination of the two, you know, maybe lower some settings using a pretty extreme level of DLSS in some cases, you could have a console-like 4K experience. Well, actually a better than a console-like 4K experience while utilizing something like a 4070 Super. And so, and then I always hear them talking about, you know, like how, oh, they might need to change their methods, or, you know, like, you know, these tests, these benchmarks just don't fully represent what these cards are capable of. And so that got me thinking. I'm like, I think that this is going to change in the 50 series, guys. I think that we're going to see a lot more PC tech enthusiasts coming at this utilizing these features, because let's face it, at face value, knowing what we know about 50 series GPUs and you know, and knowing what we know about the AMD GPUs, we've seen Nvidia shift from their 80 class cards being on a wider bus down to 256. Obviously that's working pretty good for the most part. I really didn't have a whole lot of problems utilizing 4080 Super on a 4K display. I mean, it was pretty good. It was decent. And you know, like vice versa, like using, you know, like a 4070 on 1440p or anything, them being able to cut down that base, you know, that bus width, and be able to utilize and still have that flow. But obviously we're seeing, like, generation over generation, we're not seeing that uptick in performance, hardware performance, true rasterized power. We're not seeing that anymore. But then when we look at something like multi-frame generation, my friends, when we look at that, and I've been testing this on AMD, and I look at that and I see that some games, just how incredible they actually feel, and it's very convincing, and you're playing and you're like, wow, this is actually quite convincing. I'm having a good time. I'm like the whole PlayStation analogy. I'm sitting there and I'm playing it. I'm immersed in the game. It's not super distracting, and it feels good, and it looks incredible. So I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, you know, we are really at a turning point, my friends, to where hardware no longer is a major driving force. And that's why you got the title of this video, that AMD and Nvidia, they're no longer chasing after the enthusiast, because I don't think the enthusiast, I know a lot of them haven't come around to this yet. I know that I am starting to come around to it, just because, you know, just because it's always going to be about the games first for me, always. And I'm willing to play games on an Xbox Series S. I'm willing to play games on this, and I have been. I just the other weekend, I threw on the Series S and I was playing a bunch of games on there, recording a bunch of footage, stuff like that. And so when I look at that, and I'm like, dude, it's always been about the games for me. Always. always been about the games. I've always been able to jump on there, play some video games, and have a good time with that. And it doesn't matter where I'm playing it. And so when I utilize these features, when I turn on this frame generation on my AMD 7900 XTX, I turn on this frame generation feature in some of the games that I absolutely love playing, you know, like Forspoken, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or Horizon Forbidden West, you know, like my big open beautiful world games that I love to get in there and explore. I mean, I could literally explore those games for hours on hours upon hours a day. Don't even need to really do anything but explore. And so I can get in there and I can play these games and I can look at the beautiful open worlds and I can note, and I'm noticing just like, wow, this is smooth. It looks incredible. It feels great. Like it feels smooth, super smooth. And so I'm enjoying that. That is immersion. Like that immersive feeling of just being in a game and like it just feeling incredible and looking beautiful. It's enough to immerse you and completely take away the thought of, oh my gosh, dude, is this like real rasterized, or is this frame generation, or is this DLSS, or is this FSR? You're not asking those questions anymore because you are visually attracted and it feels good and you're immersed. You're playing something that you love to play. So when I look at that, and I mean, this is kind of a warning that I think things are going to change pretty drastically pretty soon. And I think that I think you're going to see a lot of pushback from the traditional enthusiast, the PC guy that is going to be like, no, man, we want power, we want performance. You're going to see that. And I think it's going to get a little bit ugly, but I do think that the casual army is going to win, my friends. I do think that the new way of benchmarking with these features turned on is probably going to be the future of how we are going to be seeing this. And we're going to see, and we're going to be told that, like, look, man, you don't even need 2,000 freaking CUDA cores anymore. We can do it with 5,000 or 500 CUDA cores. You know, all we need is this and this, and you're going to get, you know, Jensen said it himself, 4070 or 5070 will have the power of a 4090, all only possible with AI. And right there, light bulb went off, bing, and I was like, yeah, that sounds interesting, my friends. That absolutely sounds interesting. And yeah, so my prediction is traditional PC benchmarking. I mean, obviously, you're still going to have those traditional dudes that are going to be out there benchmarking it. But when you see the disappointing uptick on the 23rd, which is 2 days away, of 58 or 4080 to 5080, 4090 to 5090, you're going to understand why this makes sense. Like, you're going to understand. Like, we didn't get a massive upgrade, you know, over like the last few generations. There wasn't a massive upgrade from 4070 to 47. I mean, 4070 to 4070 Super was a decent one, but for 4070 Ti there just wasn't this massive uptick across any of these GPUs. We saw the 6000 series, then the 7000 series for AMD. It was barely an upgrade over 6800 XT to 7800 XT. You know what I mean? Like, we're just not seeing a big enough upgrade in the PC space, but we are seeing massive gains when it comes to frame generation or DLSS or FSR or any of these kind of, you know, AMD's fluid motion frames too. We are seeing a massive upgrade or massive performance gain while utilizing these technologies. So I do think that things are going to change pretty rapidly. I'm curious to see what you guys think about that. So let me know in the comment section how you guys are feeling about that. And I am kind of feeling like I'm gonna jump on that wagon too. At least for some of it. Like, definitely do like some native, you know, native benchmarking on games that I play with some frame generation, or how I'm going to end up playing it, you know, or maybe like bring you guys into like when I get a new game and I'll just do a video of setting it up, and maybe that's what we'll do. We'll just change it up a little bit, my friends. So, all right, guys, if you like this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.
I need to see my daughter.